Okay, in today's video, we have like a little sit-down coffee talk because I got some gossip. I got some stuff to talk about. It's been a minute. The background is a little bit dark because I haven't been feeling good and I still have like a slight headache, not as bad as yesterday. So I didn't want all the light, so it's a little dark back there, but that's okay because I couldn't wait any longer to talk. The last video I put up was a live stream, and in that live stream, I told you guys the good news. You're ready. But I know not everybody gets the notifications or watch live streams. I always call it live streams. So I figure, why not tell you in a video so that you guys will know, because I'm excited. My divorce is finalized. Yes, it is. It was finalized last week. I got my paperwork, everything. And, at first, I didn't know how to feel about it because even though I'm happy, like the divorce needed to be done. It needed to be over. But it's also like, it's over. And I remember talking to one of my friends and saying, like, my ex-husband. Like, that was like weird to say. I always say my husband or my soon-to-be ex, but now to say my ex-husband, it's just very weird. And even though we didn't have like the best marriage, I still feel kind of like a failure, if that makes sense. Like, it's hard to explain, but it also feels like a weight is lifted, I don't have to feel guilty now if I want to give somebody my phone number, because I wouldn't do it while I was married, even though we were separated and he moved on and he's living with a female, I didn't want to do that because I have fear of God, because we were still legally married. But I don't have to feel bad anymore, or I can go out. I mean, I'm not looking for anybody. I mean, my goodness, hasn't even been a week since it's been finalized, because I need to work on myself, right? But it's like I won't feel guilty like flirting or being a little bit more friendlier. You know what I'm saying? Let me get my water. Hold the phone. I have to keep an eye on the time because I have to pick up my friend Vernon. Vernon, I talked about him before. I known him since high school. I was 14. My birthday's in April. His birthday's in June. So I'm only a couple months older than him, but I'm older than him. And I like to throw that in his face. But I've known him for so many years. I'm 47 now. And he's been cutting my boy's hair. And so Isaiah has off today. And, Tyler, he gets home after 4:30. And anyway, so I always pick Vern up. Vern gets off of work at 4:30. So by the time I pick Vern up and come here, Tyler will be home. Isaiah's here. And then, I spend time with my friend. We're just friends. I look at him like a brother. It's nothing like that. So I set a timer because it is 3:32. I got to make sure I stop talking at 4 because you guys know I like to talk. I'm a talker. So I want to talk a little bit since I want to say about me finalizing my divorce. And I had somebody ask me, like, well, how did you know, like, divorce was the answer? And I figured, that's a good topic to talk about, at least for myself. I can only speak for myself and my situation. I've shared before, so I've known my husband as well since high school. My ex-husband, I gotta say my ex-husband, it's so weird to me. Oh my gosh. My ex-husband, since high school. But we never dated. He was never my type, okay? I was the one standing on the trash can while the bell rings and taking my time to get to class, and I'm late, and he's the one like putting his head down, looking down, getting to class, and everybody's like, hi. All the girls were like, hi, saying his name. He was the football player, the wrestler, I played all the sports and stuff. He ran track and all that stuff. He got good grades. He never got in trouble. I don't think he ever had a detention in his life. We were just complete opposites. In high school, if you would have said that's going to be your future husband, I would have been like, yeah, right. I would have laughed my ass off. I probably would have bet any money I ever made on that. I'm like, yeah, right. Because we were just so different. He wasn't my preference, like my style. I don't know. He didn't have like that swag at that time that I liked, which always got me in trouble. So how I met him was, it was 2012. I was living in the projects. And at that time, I have 3 kids. And so every Friday I would take my kids out. We would go out to eat. That was our treat, And so one week let's say Tyler picked where we would go. The next week, let's say Lexi. The next week, Isaiah, or what have you. It would like that. You know, they always picked. And that was the week, I forget which kid, but they wanted to go to Applebee's. And I was like, all right. Well, it was in February. And it was really cold in Jersey, especially back then. It was probably one of the coldest days of the year. And I get in my car, I start backing up, and I'm like, what in the hell? I get out of my car, and I had a flat tire in the back. On the driver's side, passenger side, okay? And I'm like, what am I going to do? Okay? Because none of us could change a tire. Isaiah was like 5 at the time. Lexi was like 10, or, you know, and I don't even think that day Tyler was with me. I think he was over my mom's, to be honest, with my mom. And anyway, yeah, it was just me and the 2 kids. And so I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So I go over to my friend's house that lives in the project. She lived right across the street. Like right across the way, you know. And I was like, let's call her Sally. I call everybody Sally. I was like, Sally, because I knew Sally's brother was there, okay? And I was like, oh my God, is so-and-so there? I was like, I got a flat tire. And then all of a sudden, I seen my ex-husband. And he seen me, and he was like, hey, and I'm like, what are you doing here? Now, me and Sally, we were friends for a while, and she was married, but her husband had passed away. And she would always tell me she had 5 kids by him, but she also had a couple stepkids. But I never asked her like the names or anything. Come to find out, my friend Sally, that was my ex-husband's stepmom. So every time she would talk about her husband and all that, she was talking about like his father. Okay, never knew that. Now Sally was like 13 or 15 years younger than her husband. So even though Sally is a little bit older than me, it wasn't, you know, I don't know why I don't know. It just caught me off guard. Let's put it that way. And so he was like, oh, isn't your last name? And he said my maiden name. And I'm like, yeah. And then we start talking and all that. And he was like, well, are you married? And I'm like, no, you know, I was like, that's why, you know, nobody's here I don't know anybody to help me change my tire because I had a spare in the trunk. And he's like, oh, well, I'll help you. And so he helped change my tire. And it was right around Thanksgiving. Not Thanksgiving, my goodness. Valentine's Day. It was like a couple days prior. And he wasn't with anybody and I wasn't with anybody. And he was like, you know, what are you doing for Valentine's Day? Well, he wasn't my type. Remember, I told you that. So I was like, oh, I don't know. So like, you know, I had gave him my number and stuff. And I thought, you know, as a friend, see how he's doing and stuff. And I remember he would call and I wouldn't answer the phone. He would come by and I wouldn't answer the door. You know, it was like one of those. And one day he caught me going to my car. I'm like, dang. You know, then we start talking. And that weekend we went out on our first date. My kids were at my mom's house. And we just start talking. And I don't know. I was attracted to his personality. And at that time, he seemed like he was a go-getter. He was in college, going back to school. He was getting his career together. He was working a few jobs to get on track. And he just, you know, I felt like is a go-getter like me. And we can kind of make something, you know. He had 2 kids that were, you know, like Lexi and Tyler's age, you know, and I'm like, the kids are around the same age, you know. It was just nice. He was very, like, he went to church all the time, and I love a man that knows his Bible and goes to church, you know, all that stuff. So we talked about the Bible a lot and different things, and it was just very nice. I just liked our conversation. Well, maybe a month or 2, he moves in. And then we got married, you know. So we met in February and we got married that same year in December. 12/12/12. I don't suggest doing that. People are always on their best behaviors, even like myself. You're always on your best behavior in the beginning, especially when it's new and it's fun and you're happy and, you know, there's nothing to argue about. And, you know, it was really nice. And he was like a friend too, you know. And I felt like, he knew me how I was before and accepted me. And I wasn't like how I was before, as far as getting in trouble or drugs and drinking and all that kind of stuff. And, I was very depressed at that time. I was like 50 pounds heavier than I am now. Just a lot of things, a lot of insecurities. And he accepted me at that time. When we got married, I noticed the change. Like, he tried to be more controlling of my children and stuff. And I get it, but it's still kind of hard because you got to remember, Tyler was 16 when we got married. So I was a single mom for 16. It's hard when you're used to being head of the household and then somebody coming in and being like, if Isaiah says, can I have a snack? And I say, yeah, go ahead. And somebody was like, no, you should have got it earlier or something like that. I don't know. It's like, don't know. If I tell my son, it was just very hard to grasp. And I don't know. I think I feel like you should start having a relationship with the kids before you try to be that father. At that time, now if I had to do things, I would do it a lot differently. I would think differently. But I'm saying at that time, it was just hard for me, Maybe it was a control thing. I don't know what it was, but it was hard. And I remember saying to him, why are you changing up? And he goes, because, I don't know, let's say his name is Ryan. He would say, because I have to be husband Ryan, not Ryan that you met. And I'm like, what? That doesn't even make sense. Like, he just changed. And then also, I was living in the project, so the rent wasn't that much, and I paid all my bills before I even met him. Now, mind you, I wasn't in a relationship for 5 years, not even sexually, so it was new, and it was nice to have somebody in your life, like a friend, and anytime I took the kids out, we went to the Philadelphia Zoo or whatever, I always paid. I had the money, and, I knew he was going to school, working on himself, and I would have done it anyway if he wasn't around, so I never, really put two and two together, I don't know. Looking back at it, it's like, I even put gas in the car. It's like, why wouldn't, anyway. And then, we moved and stuff. But then I start doing YouTube. I start doing YouTube in 2017. And I was doing really good on my beauty channel. Subscription boxes, took off. And, one BoxyCharm video, I was making $800 to $1,000 just one video. I was making really good money. And so I had the money. So I paid all the bills again. I was always paying the bills and stuff. And, I was like, he had 2 kids. I'm like, pay your child support, take care of your kids. I had the money. So I never got money from him for the bills. And I didn't care because we had more than enough money. You know what I mean? But when COVID happened, and people stop buying subscription boxes. And when you stop buying beauty boxes, you tend to stop watching it, and a lot of beauty boxes shut down. And so there wasn't content to make, and the views were going down and different things like that. So what happens? You don't get paid as much. So that's when I start asking him, look, I need help. And he wouldn't help. He would say, I don't have it. And that's when the money became an issue. So for all these years, I didn't worry about it because for a big part, we were living in the projects. And I should have known because I explained this one time before. He always wanted his name. I should have known. He wanted his name on the lease. And I was like, all right. I was like, but it goes by income. So at that time, it's going to raise the price up. Now, he wasn't working his job that he's working now, but he still did pretty good, I'm like, it's going to raise our rent. And he's like, all right. I was like, well, then you pay the difference. I think my rent was only $430, or something like that. And I'm like, so then you just pay the difference. And he was like, okay. And then he was asking me well, why don't you just get the apartment in my name? And I'm like, they're not going to do that. I get the subsidized housing because of my income and 3 kids. And I'm like, they're not going to just put it in your name. No, they're going to add you on my lease because we're married now and you live with me, but you're not going to get the apartment. And I would never do that anyway. Why would I do that? And then he could just kick me and the kids out, but they wouldn't do it anyway. But I'm thinking, but I never put 2 and 2 together then. I should have did it way back in the day. So anyway, I put him on the lease and the rent goes up to just about $1,000. It was like, maybe it was 1,000. I know it wasn't quite 1,100 yet. So we'll say $1,000 or maybe like $980 or something like that. We'll say 1,000. So that was a big difference. And I couldn't afford that, you know. And he never had the money. And so I would get behind. And then I'm like, what are you doing? So then one day it came to where I got an eviction letter. And I've been out of the house since I was like 17, 18 years old. I mean, sure, sometimes I go back and forth with my mom. But for the most part, when I was 23, or I think I was 23 when I moved out completely, like, and never had to go back to my mom's house. So I met him, I was 35, 36. So for 12, 13 years living on my own, I never had an eviction letter. Like, what? What? You know, and we had to go to court, and I didn't have the money, so they gave me I think it was on a Tuesday, and they gave me to that Friday. If I didn't have the money, they were getting ready to padlock the door. I was going to lose everything. And who did I have to go to? My mom and my son, Tyler, at the time. And they gave me the money. And I remember crying. I'm like, Ryan, you have to find the money. I'm going to lose everything. What am I going to do? Where am I going to go? Like, you know, and he's like, I don't have it. And I'm like, but you're the one who wanted your name on the lease. Why did you want your name on the lease then if you couldn't pay? Why? Still stayed with him, even though I could have lost my place. And I should have thought then he didn't care, because at that time you beg, you do whatever you have to do because it was your fault why I couldn't pay my rent. Like, you begged me and made me feel bad to where I put you on the lease, and you promised me you would pay the difference. And it was like a couple months that they had to take me to, you know, they didn't want to, but they had to, you know. And I remember just literally crying with tears. I'm like, they're going to padlock. Like, I'm going to lose everything, all the kids' stuff. Like, I don't have nowhere to go with 3 kids. What am I? And all he said was, I don't have the money. I think he knew deep down I would figure a way, because I always figured out a way. Now, again, this is prior to me doing YouTube. So like I said, I should have seen all of those signs then, but I was just in a place where I was just happy to have an adult around me. I was just happy. We got along as far as then. We never argued or nothing like that. It was never nothing like that. He just didn't help me financially at that time, but we had a good relationship as far as any of that. He was a little strict on the kids, and I had a hard time dealing with that. But I think now that I look back at it, that was a me thing. I mean, he never dare put his hands on my kids or nothing like that. That I would never have, you know. Looking at the time. Anyway, then like I said, then when I started doing, you know, we moved and stuff, but then when I start doing YouTube, again, I'm making money. So still all these years, he never had to pay, like electric, nothing. Everything was always in my name. Everything. He did have health insurance, which he had great health insurance. And because my health is so bad, I mean, it was great that he had really good health insurance. So he did pay that out of his check. And then also when you do YouTube, YouTube doesn't take taxes out. And so thank goodness, like, you know, he worked and that taxes were taken out. So when we had to go to accountant, we didn't have to pay that much back, you know, because then I also had things I can claim, you know, when you do YouTube and stuff like that. Otherwise, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? And so he helped with that, with the, you know, but that was like once a year. He was very smart where, like, you know, he helped me build my credit back up and different things. Like, there's positive things he did. I never had to carry anything. He carried bags and he did all the manly stuff, like all that stuff he did do. He just didn't help financially, which, you know, like I said, when I was making that money on YouTube, again, I didn't care. I was paying everything because I had the money. And it's like, all right, well, you get yourself on, you know. We never even had a joint banking account. I couldn't even tell you how much is in his account. And I never asked him. I mean, food, toilet paper, everything I paid for. Everything. So like I said, when COVID was happening and I wasn't getting that many views. I wasn't even getting like half of what I was getting at one time. So when I say I was struggling, okay? Like, I didn't even know how I was going to pay the electric bill and different things. And, you know, I kept saying, look, I need help. I need help. And I'm like, you need to get a second job or something. And he's like, I'm like, if you don't have the money, get a second job. And he's like, Well, he was trying to work on other things. Like, I don't know, having all these meetings and all this. I don't know, but he never did. I'm like, do DoorDash, do something, but I need help. And I think he was just so used to not paying. I mean, when you go 9 years, 8, 9 years, and you don't pay not even rent, not even a cable bill, I don't know what he was doing with his money. So many people say, what was he doing with his money? I don't know. And then my mom passed away, and like I said, we weren't really doing good at all. And because I start resenting him because I needed help financially. And I'm like, you're living here. You can go into and eat anytime that you want. You come home from on your lunch break and eat food. You do all this type of stuff. You're laying here. You're using the shampoo. You're using the toothpaste. Everything. The detergent. Everything you're using. And it's like, but you're doing all for free. And you know what he says to me? He goes, well, if I wasn't here, you'd do it anyway. And I said, yeah, but if he wasn't here, I wouldn't be spending as much because he ate 75% of the food. And I'm not like shaming him on that, but it's true. He ate most of the food. like my food bill was so much more when he was with me. And that's just the truth, And other things, like I was like, the bills wouldn't be as much. What are you talking about? And food is expensive, And because of him not being here, I saved at least $500-$600 a month on food. And that's the truth. But that was always his thing. And it's like, but it doesn't matter. You're here. Why should I have to worry about where I'm going to get the money for all these bills and stuff while you're just scot-free laying down and then complaining, I don't know. So anyway, when my mom passed, she left me the house and stuff. And I didn't move in here for like a year until my mom died because it was just grief and I just couldn't. But I thought, at that time, that was an excuse to finally like get away, move in here, and bills would be cheaper, right? Because the house is paid off and stuff. I wouldn't have rent or mortgage or anything like that. So I moved here by myself. He didn't go with me. And I thought, maybe he'll see. Maybe he'll get like, okay, he'll miss me and see what it's like. Or, maybe, or we can work on ourselves, or something like that. I wasn't looking at like divorce. I was like, we're arguing a lot. And I just need to get away. And the kids shouldn't be around that. And, we just need to work on ourselves. So I move in here. And remember, I moved in here in like October. And it started getting cold around November where I had to start turning the heat on. And the heat didn't work. You guys know this. I didn't have any money, like, to get the heat fixed or anything like that. Your girl was struggling. He was living wherever he was living. I thought he was living at his sister's house. Come to find out, within 3 weeks, he moved in with a girl and the family and all this kind of stuff. And I'm thinking, well, you had to be talking to her a lot longer because how do you meet somebody and in 3 weeks you're living with her? I mean, and then I'm thinking when he met me, we were only together for a month or so and he just like moved his stuff in. I never asked him to move in. He just started staying there and staying there and staying there. And I'm thinking maybe that's what he did. I don't know. And then I remember finding out. And I was so upset and crying. And we went to marriage counseling. And then I thought, well, maybe it's me. You just have that guilt. Because when my mom did pass, I was grieving. And I tell you guys, I was a miserable thing. Like I was very angry. Where even my kids would be like, Mom, why are you so mad? I was just, my grandmother died. Lexi almost died. And a month later, my mom died on Thanksgiving. I was angry at God. I was angry at my mom, thinking, why didn't you fight? Why didn't you fight? Even though it wasn't her fault. But I'm just saying it was everything. And so I thought, well, maybe I did take things out on him. Not realizing why he didn't pay no bills. I just said, well, maybe it's my fault. So I wanted to do marriage counseling. I wanted my marriage to work because I looked at it like the only thing that was wrong is he just don't help out financially. He didn't put his hands on me. He was with that girl, but besides that, I didn't know that he ever cheated. I know he acted inappropriately, but I just thought he don't do drugs, he don't drink, could be a lot. You're always thinking these things. Of course, he made it to me, well, you threw me away, you threw your husband away, and of course I fell for it, gaslighted, I guess you would call it. And we go to marriage counseling, and within like 6-7 months, he moves in. He was coming over and different things, but I mean, as far as like moving in. And of course, he complained about the cold, because the heat wasn't working. But did he get it fixed? No. He was the type, he'd have people come over to get estimates, but then I would be the one to have to pay for it, right? So anyway, so he moved in and whatever. Again, he really wasn't helping out with bills, but at that time, Tyler and them was helping me. And my kids were helping me, and, I was able to make it. And I'm like, look, you got to do something. And so it just never, it's like, again, you're on your best behavior when you're getting back together, but it slowly goes. And it just went and went, and then that's when Tyler really seen, like, well, your husband is here. Why isn't he helping you? Why are you struggling? And then they would get into it because my son is right. But also it's like, mind your business, So it was a lot. And then that resentment came back. And then it came back even harder because it's like, well, you with a girl, you only knew for 3 weeks, blah, 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 all of that. I was hurt. I couldn't let that go because I'm like, even though we were separated, I could never see myself with somebody else. I wasn't even thinking about that. How can you be with somebody else? As much as I did for you, I paid all the bills. I struggled. I did all this stuff for you while you live scot-free. How could you, this is how I'm thinking. It's just resentment and stuff. It just came to a point where, to make this whole long story, somebody's like, how did you know it was over? It came to a point where every time we argued, he always said, well, let's get divorced. Let's get divorced. Because he knew that's not what I wanted to do. I really did want my marriage to work. I mean, but I think that was the persona. Like, I just wanted to be married and say I'm married. But, I had to come to grips, like, he didn't love me. He didn't love me. I believe, and this is just my opinion, when he met me, maybe he thought I had more than what I had. He's seen, even though I was living in the projects, but my house, it was nice inside, and I was very clean. And he's seen I had money where I was taking the kids out, getting them stuff. I just think he thought maybe I had more than what I had, or I don't know, because what man stays in a marriage and allows his wife to pay everything? Fine. But then when 9 years later, when she's actually struggling, you just say, I don't have the money. I just had to come to grips, like, he didn't love me. He used me. And that's why it was so easy for him to say, let's get a divorce. And I asked myself, why did I stay when he didn't really have a relationship with my kids? Like, he was mean to them. Not like putting his hands or anything or yelling at him. He just wouldn't speak to him or what have you. And then they got to the point they didn't speak to him. So I always felt like I was in the middle. And it was like, why? What was the benefit? He didn't help me financially. It got to the point towards the end, like he was never home, or like when he was home, he stayed in the dining room. We didn't have that, it just got bad when I needed him to start paying that bills. That's when it got hard. Before, when I was paying the bills and I didn't resent him and all that, everything was gravy. Even though he'd go out in meetings and go on these vacations for like 8 days, 7 days, I thought it was work. And I was the type, I never called him. Where are you? What are you doing? I mean, and come to find out, maybe he wasn't doing stuff he was supposed to be doing in a marriage. I never once cheated, never talked to a guy on the phone, never did any of that. My friend Vernon, I'd pick him up and he'd come right over. Like, even my ex-husband would pick him up. I never hid. I don't know. Now, I wasn't perfect either. When my mom passed, I was angry. I was grieving, and I was just mean. And I get it. Nobody wanted to be around me at that time. I understand that. But I can't keep using that as an excuse and blaming myself, because there's no reason a man should ever cheat while you're married. Even if you're in a relationship, then just leave me. He threatened divorce all the time, but why didn't he leave? And then at the very end, what happened, when you guys know what happened, I don't want to get into it again, he kept saying, and I said, leave. He was like, I ain't going nowhere. This is my house. And I'm like, no, it's not. This is my mother's house. This is my family's house. But it's like, you always threw divorce in my face, but then you didn't want to leave. Why? Because you had it too good. He had it good. 12 years, didn't have to pay bills. What? And it's really not his fault. It's my fault, because I allowed it. I never put my foot down and said, okay, you need to pay this, you should pay this, or leave. I never did that. I just always want to make him happy. But why? That's why I say I got to work on myself. What is it that I allowed myself to let a man take advantage of me for all these years? Like, what? So what? It's a me thing, you know? Because a man is only going to allow what you allow him to do. And I allowed him to be that way. And then, like I said, when I got to the point where we were arguing all the time, and then he threw in my face about my heart attack and this and my health, and, you know, when he would antagonize me, where I had to actually go in my kids' room when they weren't home, because, you know, this is the attic here, my room, and there's no lock downstairs, down the door. So I would go in there to lock the door so he would leave me alone, because I can't handle that arguing and stuff, you know, raises my blood pressure and stuff. And when it got to that, and then the threats, like, oh, if I hit you like a bitch in the street. When it got to that point, that's when I knew it. So listen, and you know what I think when I really learned? When I moved in here and my kids helped me. You know, every month on the 1st, my son comes with between $1,000 and $1,200 cash here. Now this house is paid off. There's no mortgage or rent. Here, Mom. And then the rest of the month, if I need help with anything, food, this and that, you know, here, Mom. I don't even have to ask. And that's what my husband should have been doing. If he didn't want to give me the cash, at least go pay the bill. I used to say, look, if you don't want me to have the money, just go pay the bill. Go pay it. You don't have to give me the money. You know, like when in 2021, I had COVID. And, you know, being diabetic and stuff, that's not good. And I remember laying here and I thought I was going to die. I was so sick. He never even checked on me all day. I should have known then, you know. It was, I don't know. But that's when I realized, when I was really, really struggling and he wasn't trying to get another job or just be happy. He complained about the heat now. Now the heat works. But for 2 winters, all he did was complain. It's always so cold in here. Why is it so cold in here? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, look, you go to work during the day and it's warm. You leave and go to meetings where you're in a warm place. I'm in this cold 24/7. Yeah, we have plug-in like heaters and fireplaces and stuff, but you're not paying no bills. Like, pay to get it fixed. You should be happy. All I wanted was just peace, just to be happy, just come home and not complain. That's all I ever wanted. And I was willing to accept everything else. It's sad, you know, and it's like he had it so good, but again, if he didn't love me, then, you know, he should have left, you know. You don't be in a marriage when you don't love somebody or take advantage of them, or, you know, it's not fair to him either. But then he should have left and stayed. Even, like, on my birthdays, this is embarrassing, but I've shared this before. I can't remember the last time I had a birthday cake. He never bought me birthday cakes. And if we wanted to go out to eat for my birthday, I paid for it. I said to him, come on, let's go out to eat so that I can have a reason to get out and go out for my birthday. But I paid for it. He never even paid for a dinner date. Ever. Anytime we ever went out to the movies, here, there, I always paid. And I would think I was just so used to it. And I'm thinking to myself, like, but why did you accept it when you met him? And I think maybe, I don't know, because I was so used to being the one being head of household and paying the bills. I'm thinking maybe because my kids and I wasn't with their fathers and I didn't really get child support. So I'm thinking maybe because I was just so used to pay, I was the one who paid everything. So I was so used to it. So maybe that's why I just did it. It wasn't like we met and like we moved into a place, like he moved in with me. So I think that's why maybe I allowed it so much, if that makes sense. I don't know. I just kept thinking it'll get better. It'll get better. And then, like I said, then when I was making really good money, I had the money, so I never even asked him, you know, and it's like, you know, like I said, when he threw in my face, or like okay, when the heat wasn't working, he had people come over to figure out how to do that convert from oil to gas heat and all this kind of stuff. It was going to be about $24,000. And I'm like, well, who has that money? Yes, I could have paid monthly payments, like financed it. You know what he said to me? He goes, there's enough money in this house, like people making me and my kids, that you guys have enough money in this house. And it's like, but see, that's the issue. You want me and my kids to pay for everything, but then you want my kids to respect you up here. Now, even if you're watching and you don't like me, just understand this. If you are a man and now the kids are grown, and let's say my kids are helping, he wanted that respect, like, I'm the man, I say everything, I control everything, I give the final word. But he expects me and the kids to pay everything. It's like, if you want the kids to act like they're the man of the house, like, you can't have it both ways, is what I'm saying. He would always tell me, well, Tyler makes more money than me, or the kids have this, and they have, and it's like, but that's your problem. Then go make more money. Go work a second job. Go do DoorDash. Go work at McDonald's. Do something, you know, and like I said, you know, okay, so now we moved in here, and it was like, if then you have the issue with my kids, like, why aren't you getting us a place for me and you? I don't know, it was just so, it's just a lot, and I keep repeating myself, but, so it's like a weight off my shoulders, because I'm not walking on eggshells, right? I'm not him coming home complaining about something, and then I'm like scared, oh my God, what if my kid's here, or, you know, or what have, you know, just, I don't like to argue. It's just nice. And me and the kids, like, when my ex-husband was here, when Isaiah was home, he would just stay in his room. Lexi would stay in her room. Like, everybody stayed in their room. They didn't even want to come downstairs, because why? He would always argue with them, or pick a fight, or say something slick. And it's just nice now. Me and the kids, like, we watch movies downstairs and we do things. So it's just very, very nice. But then there's that side of me like, oh, I'm divorced. I failed. But then I think, but was he ever going to pay the bills in 12 years or help me? I didn't even want to pay like 50-50, even if it was, I even said, just pay the cable bill. Just pay, and I'll pay the rest. Nope. He couldn't even do that. Every time you turn around, I don't have the money. It's like, what are you doing with your money? I don't know. Well, now I know. He was probably using it on somebody else. I don't know, but that is that. I just wanted to come and talk, and I guess that sometimes you gotta like get it out and talk about that. I got to leave. It is 4:09, so I gotta hurry up. I got my pajama pants on, so I gotta get dressed and go pick him up. He works in the next town over, and he gets done at 4:30, so I got to get ready to go. And yeah, I'll see if Vern wants to vlog. We'll see. We'll see how that goes, but alright guys, so I am divorced, single, ready to mingle. Well, not really, but you know. But yeah, so that was the situation with my divorce and how I knew. It's like, after a while, when you can't help me when I'm really struggling, or can't even come home and just be happy, even if you're not paying the bills, and stop complaining or just act like you like us, I just can't do it anymore. You know, I'll be 48 in a couple months. I'm almost 50, and it's like, we never know how much time we have left. Every 6 seconds in the U.S., somebody passes. Somebody passes away. Every 6 seconds. So that means maybe in 6 more seconds, I may not be here. I might faint, pass out, or die. So we never know when it's our last breath, when it's our last time, when is our last day, right? And I just want to be happy in my latter years. I want to be happy. And if that is where I'm alone, if I don't meet anybody, then I'm happier than walking on eggshells. That's a horrible feeling. And it's not like I had little kids or had kids by him. Me and him had no biological kids. You know what I mean? So it was just time. And it's peaceful. And I know you guys can see it in my videos, the peace and the happiness. And I know sometimes when I tell these stories, some people don't believe it. But it's true. He's never came out and called me a liar. He's never, like, it's the truth. He can't sue me. Why would I lie knowing he is a type of person? He's not like me. He would sue me if I was lying. It's just the truth, you know? Alright guys, I'm going to get off of here. My next vlog will probably be a car vlog because we have to go grocery shopping and stuff like that. But I also want to start doing vlogs like where I'm in the house, where I'm like cleaning, also like cooking, or if Lexi's cooking or what have you. I want to do stuff like that, you know, backyard work, all that type of stuff. So that's all going to be coming this year. But alright, I'm going to get off here because I have to go pick up Vern. Stay beautiful, stay blessed, stay healthy, and most importantly, always stay you. Never let somebody take you out of your character. Do as I say, not as I do. Let me know any stories down there, because remember, you not only help me when I hear your stories, I don't feel so alone, but you can help somebody in the comments. You never know what people are going through. So share your stories. If you were divorced, how did you handle it? Give me some tips where I don't feel so guilty. And yeah. All right. Bye.